Hey everybody! Today I want to tell you how quick and easy to do SVGHMI widgets with animation on the clock example. What do we need for that? First of all, we need to set the ID to the objects that we want to animate. Let's open the SVG image in the vector graphics editor. I'm using Inkscape and set the ID here. When we open the SVG image, you can see that there is already an ID here, but that doesn't mean that they actually are. Inkscape, when you open a picture, assigns an ID to each object. If there was an ID, Inkscape doesn't touch it. If there was no ID, Inkscape will make one up, but will not add it to the file. Let's manually write the ID for the objects we need for animation, so that they would be intuitive. Let's make an animation on the example of hour and minute hands. And also we should set the center around which they will move. I also want to point out that there are SVG images where there is an object at the top, and also there are several objects in the layers below it. Such objects need to be clustered, because if we set the animation to only one upper object, only the top one will move, and the bottom objects will remain in place. To make sure that doesn't happen, we are gonna need to group them together. How to do it? For convenience, press the key Shift and select our group of objects. To check ourselves that all the objects are in the selected area, we can drag and drop them, and they are dragged all together. Now right-click mouse button and do a grouping. In this way, all three objects are combined into a group. Next, let's go to the tab Object Properties. If you don't see this tab, open it with the right mouse button. Choose Object Properties and set the ID here. Minute hand we'll call minutes, then enter. Next we will set the hour hand hour, enter. And also we should set the center around which the rotation will take place. Check hour, minute and center. Next, save the picture and go to SVGHMI.pro. I'm already logged in. We need to open the converter page and upload the picture that we edited and saved. You can just drag and drop it. To add an animation for the clock, two connections must be created. One connection for hours and one connection for the minute hand. We'll add a second connection right away. Select the rotary animation function in both connections. Let's start with hour. And the first field is Elements ID. You can select the desired ID either from drop-down list, scrolling, select, or the second option. We can start entering the first letters of the desired ID, and a list will pop up with all IDs that have this letter. Choosing Next. Next, you must fill in the center's ID field, around which it will revolve the hour hand. Elements ID is the element that will be rotated. Center's ID element, around which it will revolve around. In the center's ID field, select Center. Next, I want you to notice that rotation function is available on clockwise. It's active. it's active by default. If it is deactivated, the rotation will be anti-clockwise. But let's keep it clockwise. We have a clock after all. Further, in the field WinCC property, by default is the name rotary animation. It can be changed. I'll put hour for convenience. Next is the default speed field. Here we set the clockwise speed. The value can be from 0 to 100%. Where 0 is the arrow will not move, 100 is the maximum speed. For hour, enter 2. Next comes the optional text field ID. If the SVG image had text field, you could select its ID here. In this text field in the future would output the speed that is specified in the default speed field. But since there is no text field, so we don't fill in this field. Next, fill in is the same for the minute hand. Select minutes, fill in center's ID, fill in the default speed field with the value 30. Also in WinCC property, I write minutes for convenience and clarity. After that, I press the convert button, and in the widget conversion reports you can see which changes have been applied to widget. The value in square brackets is the coordinates of the center of rotation of the figure that was calculated converter. We press the button download and open the SVGHMI widget in Visual Studio Code to see what changes added converter. Let's find the animation added by the converter. This is the hour group, and inside animate transform. The attribute we are animating is transform. The animation type is rotate. The from attribute has 3 values: start angle, x coordinate, y coordinate. These coordinates set the center of rotation of the animation. In this type of animation is the most difficult to find this center, and luckily the converter did it for us. You may have noticed that these are the coordinates that were shown in the conversion report here. Well, and then the most interesting part begins. HMI bind 2. This is the end point and rotation angle that the animation should reach. Here the logic of work is written with the help of 2 ternary operators. Here is the logic of this line. If param_props minutes is true, then another condition, direction, is checked. Depending on whether it is true or false, the final angle is set either 360 degrees or minus 360 degrees. Accordingly, the direction of rotation is either clockwise or anti-clockwise. Well, if param_props minutes false, the final angle is set to 0 and the arrow will not rotate. And the last important parameter, duration of animation. It is set in seconds, and accordingly, the shorter time, the faster the arrow will rotate. Here too there is a little logic. If the speed is set to 0%, then the animation time will be 9999 and so on. Very large. So large that it will seem that there is no rotation. But if the speed is not 0, there is a little exponential formula. It's empirically chosen to make the speed go from 0 to 100 as smoothly as possible. Well, now I think we can see how our widget will work in runtime. Copy widget into the project folder, user files, SVG controls. If you don't have a SVG control folder, you need to create it. Next we go to the tier portal, update widgets, and we see that the project graphics folder has appeared. Next we drag and drop the widget and look at it. What do we see? Open properties. We see our properties that have been added for the hours and for the minutes. To make the animation move, you must activate these checkboxes. Next, the checkbox direction changes the direction of rotation of the arrows. If the checkbox is not active, rotation will be at clockwise. If the checkbox activated, the rotation will be anti-clockwise. Further, speed. The values are the same as we set 2 and 30. I will make rebuild all. After everything has compiled, load into runtime. Select full download, start on time, load. Then go to the browser and see that. As you can see, the hour hand and minute hand turning around the center that we set. The hour one is slower, the minute one is faster. What would happen if we hadn't set the center? Let's take a look. Let's go to the converter again. The file has already been downloaded. Let's take an example just for minute hand. Connection for the hour hand I'll delete and remove center's ID for the minute hand. Take a note what the center of rotation was. Click Convert. The coordinates of the center have changed because converter calculates new center of rotation. Press Download. Copy widget into the SVG controls folder. Delete the previous widget, otherwise there will be an error. Delete clock. Update. Next we need to close all screens and reopen. This is necessary for the new widget is completely updated. Go to Properties, activate the Minute checkbox, and do it again. Rebuild all, download, and we can see what we've got. Take a note, the minute hand is moving around its own center, not around the center of the clock. In the next video, I'll tell you how to do rotary lever for valve with a rotary angle connection.